Alright guys, so I decided to put together a little video challenge for us about the certified farrier exam. So I know right now time, money, gas, all of that is kind of at a premium, and it's hard to get to shop nights and hammer ends, things like that, to practice with each other. So we're going to do this electronically instead. I'm going to have a challenge for you every so often. So let's talk about the certified farrier exam. So whether you're taking this test or not, I don't care. This is all basic stuff that every one of us should know. But it's a simple test. Our clients are paying us to practice every single day. The better we are, the more they will pay us. So it stands to reason. Go ahead and go for the test. All right? So for our CF and for the CJF, either way, there are 3 parts. We have a theory, a practical, and a forging. So for the certified farrier exam, our theory test is a written test. It's just multiple choice. Very simple, kind of easy to take if you've studied for it. All right? So starting to study, it comes from 2 books, Gregory's and Butler's. That's all. None of the questions are outside of those books. It is just what is contained in those 2 books. And it's all good stuff we need to know for everyday work. The test will cover bones and joints, hoof structure, tendons and ligaments, the circulatory system, pathology, different types of shoes, and conformation and gait faults. So study through those sections, work on it on your own, always be learning more. If you want help with that, you can let me know or get with somebody in your area. Form a study group, get together. If you're not in my area, if you're in my area, come hang out and study with me. So we also have the practical section. It's just 2 flat, unclipped keg shoes on 2 feet in an hour. So very simple, very basic, just 2 flat shoes, 2 flat feet in an hour. Most of us can do that in our everyday work. It's just to a standard, and that standard comes out of the book. So every tester carries this book. It has exactly how to be scored. We'll get to that challenge later. Right now, I want to focus on the shoe board, the forging example, the forging portion of this test, right? So we have 11 modifications that we need to put on shoes on a board. So just an example of your best work that you can do, showing that you can modify shoes for everyday use. These shoes can be keg shoes, they can be handmade, or it can be a combination of both. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. It's just about, can you modify the seal to get what you need? So we've got toe and quarter clips. Fairly simple. Most of us use clips at some point during the day, at some point. You just have to draw a clip. So you're getting paid to practice that. No big deal. We have a square toe, a rolled toe, a rocker toe, extended heels, a straight bar. We have to have a shoe to raise the angle of the foot. We have to have a pad. We have to have traction, or 2 types of traction devices. We have to have a trailer, and we have to have a punched nail hole. So it looks like a lot right now, but that's okay. We will focus on one at a time. So the trick with this is not to just make a shoe, be done with it, and hope to pass the test. The real portion of this test is in the learning. It's in figuring these out so that you can use them on a daily basis, or at least as needed, right? So we're going to start with one of the most useful of the modifications that's on here, and that is our rocker toe. So we're going to look at this rocker toe. It's just going to be on a front foot. So I've got just an aught size shoe. We're going to end up putting a rocker toe on this, looking at how to do it, looking at what do they expect for the test, what is the difference between the test and real life, how are we to use the 2. We'll look at how to fit the shoe to the foot, and then I want to challenge you to put some rocker toes on some feet over the course of the next little bit. All right? So, before we make our rocker toe, we need to know what in the world we're doing. What is the goal? So, we need to remember our anatomy first. That goes back to the theory, the more we know of this, the easier it is to shoe horses on a daily basis. The more educated we can be about shoeing. So, we've got a foot, we've got a sagittal view of a foot. So think of a foot that's just split in half like one of the anatomy models, right? So we have our coffin bone, we have our dermis layer or HL zone, we have our circumflex artery, we have our white line. So as we look at this, we're going to put a shoe on this foot. Typically, that shoe is just going to be flat. Right? We've just got a nice normal keg shoe, handmade, whatever you want to put on the foot. In this case, we're going to rock this toe up. So, according to our book, according to this certified book, we are scored from 0 to 10. Anything that is a 3 or below is a failure. So we're shooting, this is a shoe board. We have all the time in the world. You can do this at home, you can do it in my shop, you can do it in somebody else's shop, it doesn't matter. You've got all the time in the world, so shoot for a 10, right? You only need a 7 to pass, but we shoot for that 10 for the shoe board. We'll talk about scoring it all for the practical later. So for our rocker toe, we need a rocker that is centered on the toe. So it's centered to the toe of the shoe, is perpendicular to the center line of the foot. So it should be perpendicular to the frog. The shoe should be set correctly on the foot, right? It should incorporate 1/2 to 3/4 of the width of the shoe stock. So 1/2 to 3/4 of this stock width. So if this is 3/4 of an inch, it should be about 3/8 of an inch rocker toe, right? The ground surface is rocked to the thickness of the shoe. We'll take a look at that. The front of your toe is going to come up the thickness of your shoe. All right? Then the ground surface directly behind the rocker is going to be flat. One of the big problems that we see is the whole shoe starts to rock, and we don't want that. We want it to be a flat shoe with just a sharp rocker in that shoe. So think about your anatomy, right? Go back and study that some more. What we're going to do is we're going to bevel this foot and our shoe so that we now have a shoe that is rocked the thickness of the shoe. So if we bring the thickness of our shoe out, that point is now rocked up that far. All right. So now part of the challenge is think about what this does to the foot itself. Think about the anatomy there. Think about what it does to the biomechanics of the horse. Right? Know how to use this shoe and when you would use this shoe. When should you not use the shoe? I want you to think about those things. We'll talk about it a little bit more, but I want you to think about that as we go and as you practice making these. Right? This is a modification that you can put on a lot of horses. You can put it on nearly every horse. There are very few exceptions. So, get paid to practice. Go out, put it on actual horses. That is the way that we will learn this the best. Practice a few to know what you're doing, but then put it on horses. All right, we're gonna get this shoe hot. We're gonna go through how to make this rocker toe, and then we'll talk about getting it onto a foot. All right, I'm gonna find a sharp-ish edge on my anvil. I'm going to place my shoe so that I've got the proper amount of stock across the edge of the anvil. I'm going to hit down at my corner, hit down at my corner. I've set my shoe, it's stuck. I'm going to make sure it stays in that same place. I'm going to hit flat, trying to maintain a straight line. Now, my shoe is rocked. The whole shoe is cupped. I don't want that. That's a bad deal. But it's okay for now. So I'm going to level behind my rocker. I'm going to make sure my shoe is flat. And I'm going to make sure that I have enough rocker. So we can either do it this way, the way that I just did. We can also come here. Pull it almost like a clip. Right? Either way works. As long as you're getting a nice crisp line on the back of the shoe for roughly half the stock width, right? So we have a straight line perpendicular to the shoe. It's still the same stock thickness, and it is rocked up about the same amount of the shoe thickness. So, now that we've got our shoe, we'll talk about how to put this on a foot. Alright, so we've got our shoe with our rocker toe. It should be, like we said, a nice straight line here. It should be rocked up the same thickness as the shoe. Alright, that would be a 10. So, and again, half the stock thickness, or half the stock width rather, is where your line is sitting. So, we've got our shoe. We need to get it on a foot. These can be a little bit tricky to fit at first, but I think you'll find it to be a very useful modification for a lot of feet, especially if you've got a foot that's wanting to run out on itself, fall apart, or if you're wanting to shorten the distance that shoe is set at from the toe, right? So if we've got a foot that is ran forward too much, we want to bring back the point of breakover. We can use this rocker toe, still support the toe, but we're still moving breakover back, right? Now, I want you to think about and come up with some answers on what that does to the foot, to the structure of the horse. What tendons and ligaments are we affecting and how? All right? But as we go to fit this, because I want you to put it on feet, and lots of them. Make lots of these to put on feet. You've got to hot fit these to get a really good fit. It is possible to fit them cold, but it is much, much easier to fit them hot. So we're going to get our shoe shaped as closely as we can. We're going to get that rocker toe put into our shoe. We're going to take it to the horse, hover it over the foot. If you're way off on shape, don't bother putting on the foot. Go back and fix it. All right? Preferably, get your shape before you put the rocker in. Once you put the rocker in, it's a lot harder to shape this shoe aside from adjusting the heels. So, get your toe right. Get your shoe as close as you can. Put your rocker in. Hover it over the foot. Make sure it's about the right shape. Once it is, you'll use your rasp. Just put the same bevel or slightly less bevel into the foot in the same place the rocker is on your shoe, and then set it down onto your foot to burn. We are looking for a burn There will be the hoof wall all the way around, including the rocker, but of course not burning our sole too much, just like normal. But we need an even burn from toe to heels. If we're only touching at the tip of our rocker and our heels, we need to rasp in a little bit more of our rocker. It's too high still, right? Once you're burning that whole rocker and your whole foot, you're set to go. Just don't overburn the foot. All right? So we'll do that. There's a difference, however, between the way we do this rocker for certification for our shoe board, right, and for a live horse. Part of a 10 in this is getting this rocker perpendicular to the line of the shoe. That's for the shoe board. That is not necessarily what you will do for a live horse. Make sure you know the difference. So, for the shoe board, this is not all of these are exactly what we would do for every horse, but they are a standard that is set so that you can show you can do what you set out to accomplish. So if we can make the steel do what we want, we can make it do whatever we want on a horse. For the shoe board, there are specific specifications to meet. So, shoe board practice, make sure it's perpendicular, make sure it's nice and straight. For a live horse, if we do that, we will likely be off compared to the horse's line of travel. All right? Take a look at the horses that you work on. Take a look at the wear in the shoes when you pull them off after they've been on for a while. They don't break over, for the most part, don't break over perpendicular to the line of the shoe or the line of the foot, but rather they're going to be off medially or laterally just a bit. So if you're working on a horse, figure out where is his line of travel, where does he break over, and then put your rocker toe in perpendicular to that rather than perpendicular to the shoe. That way we're easing his way of going the best that we can. We're staying out of his way. But again, for the shoe board, it must be a straight line perpendicular with the shoe. All right? So your challenge is practice this, send some pictures, ask for help, come by the shop if you can. There's plenty of shop nights, or just give me a call, see when you can come by on your own if you'd rather. Let's figure out how to make these. And then once you can make one that's halfway decent, start putting them on horses. I want to see you guys put these on several horses and get me some pictures. Send pictures back to the group showing that you're getting these on horses. You can do this. You can put these on with a toe clip. That's a little harder. There's a little more to it. Putting it on with quarter clips or side clips, very good. You can also just use a flat shoe like we did here. So either way, have fun with this one. Get started on it. Show me some pictures of your rocker toes on feet and start using this modification that is fantastic for horses. And be ready to think about why is it good for the horse. Go back to your anatomy, go back to your biomechanics, figure out why this might be a good thing.